Why don't you like me, Dad? That question, that sentence, that moment, it changes everything. It's not just a line from a reality show. It's the raw, vulnerable voice of a daughter trying to understand why her father feels so far away. And if you've been following the Brown family from the beginning, you know just how heartbreaking that really is. Hey, friends, I'm Olivia, and welcome back to Sister Wives Secrets, your go to spot for everything happening inside the Brown family and the stories that TLC doesn't always spotlight. If you're as emotionally tangled in this family saga as I am, then hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. This one's going to hit close to home. In the most recent episode, Season 19, Episode 22, Love Covers All Wrongs, Cody sits at a dinner table across from Robyn, supposedly celebrating Valentine's Day. But, as usual, the evening takes a turn. What was meant to be a celebration of love quickly becomes yet another conversation about everything that's gone wrong in his relationships, with his other wives, and more painfully, with his children. And right there, out of nowhere, comes the story of Aspen. Sweet, calm, level headed Aspen. And she says to Cody, "Why don't you like me?" That's not something any child should ever have to ask their parent. Not at 5 years old, and certainly not as an adult. It's not drama, it's not entertainment, it's grief. It's the wreckage of a family that's been coming apart in slow motion for years. And when Cody tells Robyn about this moment with his daughter, her response is, well, it's one of the things we're going to break down today. Because the way this couple talks about their kids, the way they paint themselves as victims, even when their children are begging to be loved, it deserves to be examined. And you guys, it deserves to be called out. Let's get into it. Logan and Aspen. If you've been watching Sister Wives for a while, you already know they're the steady hands, the calm voices, the big siblings who became something much more than that. They didn't just grow up in a chaotic, plural household, they grew up through it. And in many ways, they carried the emotional weight of that family long before they were old enough to understand what that meant. Logan, the firstborn, and Aspen, the oldest daughter, have always moved differently than the rest. There's a kind of quiet resilience in both of them. While Cody was off trying to manage or control the adult relationships in his life, these two were making sure their younger brothers and sisters had someone they could count on, someone who showed up, someone who listened. They cooked meals, helped with homework, calmed meltdowns. They broke up sibling fights, reassured scared kids when their moms were overwhelmed, and showed up when no one else did. And they did all this while navigating their own teenage years, their own feelings, and their own loss of a present father. They weren't just older siblings, they were the glue, and they never asked to be. There's a moment that sticks out when you watch how this family operates. When things get hard, the kids don't go to Cody, they call each other. And most often, it's Logan and Aspen at the center of those calls. They became the emotional anchors while their father floated in and out, more concerned with who was loyal to him than with who needed him. It's hard not to compare. While Cody was chasing the illusion of control and unity, Logan and Aspen were quietly holding the pieces together. Not with grand speeches or camera ready parenting moments, but with presence, consistency, heart. They didn't just raise themselves. In many ways, they raised that family. And that's something Cody will never truly understand because he wasn't there to see it happen. So here we are, Valentine's Day. The episode sets it up like it's going to be some tender, romantic evening between Cody and Robyn, a chance for them to reconnect, maybe reflect on their love story. But if you've been watching long enough, you already know how this goes. With Cody, it's never just dinner. It's always a setup for a monologue, and somehow it always circles back to his grievances with the rest of the family. What starts as a night about love quickly morphs into Cody venting his frustrations. Again. The table's set, the lighting is warm, but the mood shifts fast. Instead of focusing on their relationship, Cody dives straight into his narrative of victimhood. It's not about celebrating a connection anymore. It's about defending himself, justifying the choices that have left his family fractured and his children distanced. He begins to paint this picture of himself as the misunderstood father, the one who's just trying to love his kids but keeps getting pushed out. And this is where things take a sharp emotional turn because suddenly Aspen's name comes up. Cody tells Robyn about a conversation he had with Aspen. And he says it like it was just a simple exchange, but it wasn't. Aspen asked him straight to his face, "Why don't you like me, Dad?" The air in the scene changes. You can almost feel how heavy that sentence is. And yet, Cody doesn't seem to grasp the weight of it. Instead of sitting in the pain of that question, really hearing his daughter, he starts explaining, defending, spinning his own hurt. And right there, Robyn jumps in, not with comfort or compassion, but with correction. That sounds more like a confrontation, and she says. And just like that, what could have been a moment of reflection becomes something else entirely, a defense mechanism, another excuse, another reason to pull further away from the very kids asking him to show up. In this moment, that should have stopped Cody in his tracks. Aspen looks at her father, the man who was supposed to be her protector, her guide, and asks, "Why don't you like me, Dad?" That's not just a question. That's a cry from the heart. It's the voice of a daughter who's spent years trying to understand a relationship that's always felt one-sided. And what does Cody do with it? He doesn't fall silent. He doesn't get emotional. He doesn't even ask why she feels that way. Instead, he responds in the most Cody way possible, with deflection. He says, "Sweetheart, I love you. I always have, and I always will." But here's the thing, saying "I love you" after your child questions whether you even like them, that's not enough. That's not connection. That's damage control. Cody isn't having a real conversation here. He's doing what he always does, talking around the pain instead of through it. And then Robyn, watching this from across the table, adds her own spin. She says, "Actually, Cody, that sounds more like a confrontation." That one word, confrontation, tells us everything about how they view Aspen's vulnerability. It reframes her hurt as hostility, her honesty as aggression. Let's be clear, Aspen wasn't yelling. She wasn't accusing. She was hurting. And instead of recognizing that pain, Cody and Robyn rebrand it as a challenge, something uncomfortable, something to defend against. And this is where it hits even harder. Because if Aspen, the calm, measured, peacemaking oldest daughter, is being labeled as confrontational simply for asking a question that came from heartbreak, what chance do the rest of the kids have? It shows us exactly how disconnected Cody really is. Not just physically absent, but emotionally unreachable. He's not hearing his kids, he's managing them. And Robyn, instead of helping bridge that gap, is helping him build the wall higher. That one moment with Aspen said more about this family dynamic than any confessional ever could. Cody says he feels alienated. That's his word. He says it over and over again, like it explains everything, like it justifies the growing distance between him and the kids he helped bring into the world. But here's the problem. Cody didn't just wake up one day and find himself alienated. This wasn't something that happened to him. This was something he actively created. In his version of events, the kids stopped calling. The ex-wives poisoned their minds. He was just sitting there, heart open, waiting for someone to love him back. But the reality, his actions tell a very different story. This is the same man who, when his son Garrison begged for time and understanding, told him that the family was a civil war. The same man who flat out said he didn't want to call his kids because he didn't want to be around them. Those aren't the words of a father who's been shut out. Those are the words of someone who's already slammed the door. And Robyn, she's not helping. If anything, she's validating this entire victim narrative. She leans in every time he talks about betrayal, reinforcing the idea that the kids and their mothers are the problem, that Cody's just misunderstood, misjudged. Poor Cody. But what neither of them seems to grasp is how damaging that storyline really is. Because when you play the victim in a situation where you held all the power, where you had every opportunity to make things right, it doesn't earn you sympathy. It earns you distance. You don't get to be both the absent father and the wounded one. The kids aren't pulling away because of what someone said. They're pulling away because of what they've lived through. They've watched Cody pick favorites. They've seen him show up for some and disappear for others. And now, instead of owning that, he's hiding behind a narrative that paints him as the one who got hurt. But the truth is clear. Cody isn't alienated. He's emotionally unavailable. And now he's trying to rewrite the story so he doesn't have to face what that really means. After Aurora's baptism, Cody sits at a dinner table surrounded by Robyn's kids. It's meant to be a celebration, a joyful moment for their family. But what comes out of Cody's mouth reveals more than he probably realizes. He looks around that table, his eyes lighting up, and he says, I get enthusiastic about your mother, and certainly about all of you. Special people. Special people. Let that sink in. He doesn't say, I love all my children. He doesn't even say he's proud of them all. He reserves this glowing praise, this deep affection, for the ones seated right in front of him, Robyn's children. The ones who have never had to fight for his attention. The ones who've never had to ask, do you even like me? It's not just a slip of the tongue, it's a pattern. Over and over, we've seen Cody show up for Robyn's kids in ways he's refused to do for his other children. He's involved in their milestones. He gushes over their accomplishments. He's emotionally present. And most importantly, he chooses them. But where was that enthusiasm when Hunter graduated? When Gwendolyn got engaged? When any of the other kids reached a big moment in their lives? His older children aren't blind. They see the difference. They feel it. They hear the praise lavished on one set of siblings while theirs is missing entirely. And what's worse, they're expected to be okay with it, to keep quiet, to not cause waves. That's why Aspen's question cuts so deep. Because in the face of all this favoritism, she's still trying to understand. She's still hoping there's a reason beyond. You're just not the right set of kids. Imagine sitting at home watching your father gush about how special someone else is while you're still waiting for him to show up. That's not just painful, it's devastating. And the fact that Cody doesn't seem to notice, or worse, doesn't care, only makes it clearer. This isn't about plural marriage anymore. It's about emotional abandonment. And Cody's actions make it crystal clear who he's chosen to prioritize. Garrison's words cut deep. When he said, you know what, Robyn? Have him. There was no mistaking the heartbreak in that statement. It was a raw moment. A boy telling his father that he was done trying. He was done fighting for a relationship with a man who made it clear that he didn't care. It wasn't anger or bitterness, it was surrender. Garrison had given up. He had given up trying to earn his father's affection, and in that moment, he was handing Cody over to Robyn, the woman who seemed to have his full attention. It was as though Garrison finally realized that no matter what he did, it would never be enough for Cody. And Cody's response? He didn't even try to fix it. He didn't apologize or attempt to understand. Instead, he called his children jerks. That's how he saw his kids, his flesh and blood, like they were some nuisance, an inconvenience to his perfect little family with Robyn. His dismissive words were like a slap in the face, telling Garrison and the others that their pain didn't matter, their needs didn't matter, and their love didn't matter. Now, contrast that with Aspen's reaction. While Garrison's frustration came out as anger, Aspen's heartbreak is quieter, more subdued. It's the kind of sadness that settles deep inside, like a weight you can never lift. When she asked her father, why don't you like me, Dad? She wasn't lashing out, she wasn't accusing, she was simply trying to understand. She was trying to make sense of a situation that didn't make sense, of a father who, despite being physically present, had emotionally abandoned her. Garrison's words, though harsh, were a cry for help. Aspen's, though quieter, were a plea for love and validation. And Cody? He wasn't hearing either of them. In fact, he was too busy playing the victim, too busy feeling sorry for himself to truly see the depth of the pain he had caused. The difference between Garrison's outburst and Aspen's question speaks volumes about the emotional toll this family has endured. It's not just the loud, angry moments that hurt. It's the quiet sadness that lingers when a child stops believing that their father will ever love them the way they need to be loved. As we reflect on all that's happened, on the heartbreak, the distance, the silence, it becomes crystal clear. The Brown kids didn't become strong because of their father. They became strong in spite of him. They learned how to survive the emotional neglect, the gaslighting, the favoritism. They had to become resilient on their own, without the support of the man who should have been their rock. Logan and Aspen, in particular, have shown us what it means to take on a role that was never theirs to begin with. They didn't ask to be surrogate parents. They didn't ask to hold the weight of their younger siblings' pain or to be the peacekeepers between households, but they did it. They stepped up because that's what they had to do. And in doing so, they became the true anchors of this family while Cody remained adrift, obsessed with his own narrative of being the victim. Aspen's question, "Why don't you like me, Dad?" is a question that should never have to be asked. No child should ever have to doubt their father's love. But Aspen did. And when she asked, you could feel the weight of all the years of hurt, of unanswered questions, of rejection that had built up inside her. And Cody's response? Emotional avoidance. He couldn't even give her the reassurance she desperately needed. It's heartbreaking. Because in the end, what we're left with is a family fractured by emotional neglect, by favoritism, and by the overwhelming pain of unmet expectations. It's clear that Cody is emotionally unavailable. But what's even more painful is that he doesn't seem to care to change. To all the viewers who've been following this journey, what do you think? How many more times do Cody's kids need to ask for his love before he realizes he's losing them? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If their story has touched you or have something to say about this family dynamic, hit that like button and subscribe to Sister Wives Secrets for more emotional insights and analysis. But before you go, let me leave you with this question. Can a parent ever truly come back from the emotional damage they've caused? Or once the damage is done, is it too late? Think about that.